Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us.
Always glad to be back.
Today we're diving into something pretty amazing. The natural world. It's full of these unbelievable things, things that make you really stop and think.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So we've got some sources here that are just jam-packed with these unbelievable facts.
Yeah, we've got this in-depth look at trees from One Tree Planted.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
And then there's this travel blog from EF Go. All sorts of global trivia in there.
I love that kind of stuff.
And then we're going to round it out with some insights on African wildlife from Amazing Africa.
Should be fun.
It's more than just fun facts, though. I think these sources really highlight how interconnected our world really is.
Yeah, you're right. One of the things that really blew my mind was this whole Wood Wide Web thing, like trees talking to each other. Seriously.
I know, right? It's incredible. One of those fascinating discoveries in recent years, for sure.
So how does that even work?
Well, it turns out that trees can actually communicate through these vast underground networks of fungi.
Fungi, like mushrooms and stuff.
Exactly. It's like a giant interconnected root system, almost.
Wow.
It allows trees to share resources, warn each other about danger, even support trees that are, not doing so well.
It's like their own little social network.
It really is. Completely changes how we think about forests as these ecosystems.
So like if one tree is attacked by, say, insects, it can send out a warning to the others?
Precisely. And then the other trees can ramp up their defenses.
How do they do that?
Well, they might start producing chemicals to deter those insects, or even attract predators that feed on them.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's wild, isn't it?
And this communication, it's not just limited to like underground networks, right?
Oh, right.
I was reading about acacia trees in Africa,
Okay.
and apparently they release a gas to warn their neighbors about danger.
It's not just any gas, though. It's specially designed to trigger a response in other trees.
Oh, wow.
When they sense this gas, they start producing toxins in their leaves.
So they basically become poisonous.
Pretty much. And that makes them a lot less tasty to things like giraffes, which like to browse on those leaves.
So it's like their version of shouting fire in a crowded theater.
Yeah, kinda. But the shout is a chemical signal, and the fire is a hungry giraffe.
Right. Wow. Makes you wonder what else they're saying down there, huh?
I know, right?
Okay, well, let's move on from trees for a bit. I've got something a little bigger. Buffalo. Apparently, they're quite democratic when it comes to making decisions.
That's right, yeah. Studies have shown that African buffalo herds use a kind of voting system to decide which direction to travel in.
Really?
Yeah, the female buffalo will stand and gaze in a particular direction, and whichever direction gets the most gazes, that's the one they go with.
I never realized buffalo were so organized. It's like they hold these little rallies to campaign for their preferred route.
Maybe not rallies, but it does show that complex social structures aren't just a human thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Nature is full of examples of animals working together in really sophisticated ways.
For sure.
Speaking of which, let's talk about bees. They've got some pretty impressive communication skills too, right, with their dances.
Oh, absolutely. The dances are intricate, for sure.
But how does it actually work?
So when a bee finds a good source of nectar, it comes back to the hive and performs this special dance.
Right.
And the dance actually tells the other bees the direction and distance to the flowers.
So it's like a GPS system, but with waggles.
Exactly.
Right.
The angle of the bee's waggle tells them the direction. And how long the waggle lasts tells them the distance.
That's incredible. Do they ever get lost?
Well, they're bees, so I'd say they're pretty good at navigation.
I guess so.
Hmm.
Now, this next topic really puts things into perspective. Trees and stars. I was shocked to learn that there are more trees on Earth than stars in the Milky Way.
I know, it's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Cheers.
Scientists estimate that there are about 3 trillion trees on our planet. Trillion. That's more than all the stars in our galaxy. It really makes you appreciate the sheer scale of life on Earth.
It does. For all the amazing things we know about space, there's still so much to explore right here on our own planet.
Exactly.
And speaking of exploring, I read that there's this strong connection between trees and rainfall.
Yeah, it's called the biotic pump theory.
Mm.
Basically, forests act as giant pumps, pulling water up from the soil and releasing it into the atmosphere.
Through their leaves?
Through their leaves, yep, as water vapor. And that moisture then contributes to cloud formation and rainfall.
So they're creating their own rain.
In a way, yes. It's a fascinating process.
It sounds pretty magical to me.
It is. And it has huge implications for the planet's climate.
Hmm.
Deforestation on a large scale can really disrupt these rainfall patterns, which can lead to droughts in some regions and floods in others.
Wow. It makes you realize that something as simple as a tree can have such a huge impact on the entire planet.
Absolutely. They're essential.
Let's talk about another creature that we often associate with trees, elephants. And of course, their legendary memory.
Ah, yes. An elephant never forgets. It's a saying for a reason.
But it's not just about remembering a bad experience,
No,
right?
no, it's much more than that.
Yeah.
Elephants have exceptional memories that are vital for their survival.
And in what way?
Well, they use their memories to navigate vast distances, to remember where water sources are, even to recognize individuals within their complex social groups.
So it's not just a parlor trick, it's ingrained in how they live every day.
Exactly. It's a powerful example of how memory is crucial in the animal kingdom.
It makes you wonder what kinds of things an elephant's brain must hold, all
So
those
there-
memories.
I know, right? It's fascinating.
Okay, let's circle back to trees for a moment. I read about how they can actually fight back against insect attacks.
Right. It's incredible, isn't it?
It is, so they're not just passive victims.
Not at all. Trees have evolved all sorts of defenses. Well, when they're attacked by insects, some trees can release chemicals that either repel the attackers or actually attract predators that'll eat them.
So it's like a built-in security system.
Exactly. And some species can even change the nutritional content of their leaves to make them less appealing to those insects. Or they can toughen up their bark to make it harder for the insects to get through.
Trees are a lot tougher than I gave them credit for.
Oh yeah, they're resilient.
Now, speaking of tough, let's talk about the blue whale, the largest animal to ever exist on Earth.
It's a magnificent creature. To give you an idea of its size, a blue whale can reach lengths of over 100 feet
100 feet.
and weigh over 200 tons. That's heavier than a Boeing 737 airplane.
I always knew they were big, but that's just
It
mind-blowing.
is, isn't it? And what's even more remarkable is that despite their immense size, they feed on these tiny creatures called krill.
Krill.
Krill. They have these baleen plates in their mouths that act like giant filters,
Oh, I've heard of those.
so they can strain huge amounts of water and capture the krill.
So it's like a giant underwater vacuum cleaner.
Pretty much. A very efficient one, I'd say.
Okay, get ready for this. Those fearsome predators, the killer whales, not actually whales.
Oh, right, the orca. Big misconception.
Huge.
They're actually the largest member of the dolphin family.
Dolphins! I never would have guessed.
I know their size and coloration can be deceiving,
They do not look like dolphins.
but their skeletal structure, their behavior, their DNA,
yeah.
all point to them being more closely related to dolphins than whales.
Okay, you learn something new every day.
That's what we're here for.
So now I'm an orca expert.
Okay.
Let's take a deep dive, literally into the deepest point on Earth, the Mariana Trench.
Oh, yeah. The Mariana Trench. It's awe-inspiring, to say the least.
What's it like down there?
It's extreme. You've got intense pressure, perpetual darkness, and freezing temperatures. But even in those harsh conditions, life finds a way. We've discovered some incredible creatures down there.
Wow. It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it? I mean, life can exist in those kinds of places.
It's amazing.
Now, let's come up for air for a bit and explore some fascinating facts about human history and culture. Did you know that the oldest known artwork was discovered in Indonesia?
Oh, yes. It's a cave painting. Dates back a staggering 44,000 years.
44,000 years.
44,000 years.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It shows these animals in hand stencils, gives us a glimpse into the minds of our ancient ancestors.
It's amazing to think about, humans expressing themselves through art for tens of thousands of years. It's a fundamental part of who we are. What other cultural tidbits did you find?
Well, I came across something about parliaments. Several countries claim to have the oldest parliament in the world.
Oh, really?
Places like Iceland, the Faroe Islands, the Isle of Man, all dating back to the 9th and 10th centuries.
It's incredible to see how these different cultures develop these systems of governance. Shows that the desire for representation and collective decision-making is something that's common across human society.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Let's lighten things up for a second. Have you ever heard that the first tear that falls from your right eye means it's a tear of joy?
I have, but I think it's probably more folklore than fact. Fun to think about, though.
I'll have to test it out.
Let me know what you find out.
All right, back to the animal kingdom. I've always been kind of fascinated by hyenas. They get a bad rap in pop culture, but they're really quite fascinating.
Yeah, hyenas are often portrayed as these scavengers or villains.
Yeah.
But they're a lot more complex than that.
Yeah, they're highly intelligent.
And social?
Yeah. with really unique communication methods.
Absolutely.
I read that they use laughter to communicate social status. That's pretty unique, right?
It is. Their laughter, or giggling, can actually convey information about their age, their dominance, even their emotional state.
And this one might surprise you. Female spotted hyenas are actually dominant in their clans.
It's true. They're larger and more aggressive than the males. Yeah, and they play a key role in leading hunts and raising their young. It's a great example of a matriarchal society in the animal kingdom.
Wow. It really challenges our assumptions about gender roles, doesn't it?
It does. Nature is full of surprises.
Let's take a virtual safari to Tanzania and explore the incredible Ngorongoro crater.
Ah, the Ngorongoro crater. It's breathtaking. Truly one of the natural wonders of the world.
I've seen pictures. It looks amazing.
It's the world's largest inactive volcanic caldera, and it's teeming with all sorts of wildlife.
I read that there's one notable absence, though. No giraffes.
That's right.
Why is that?
Well, it's thought that the steep sides of the crater make it impossible for giraffes to get down to the crater floor.
So it's a giraffe-free zone.
Yep. The terrain is just too difficult for them.
I wonder if they ever peek over the edge and wonder what they're missing.
Who knows? Maybe they do. It's a good reminder that even within a single ecosystem, you can have these variations, limitations. It's fascinating.
It is. You know, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive already.
Yeah, we have.
From the depths of the ocean to the heights of the savannah.
The natural world is just full of surprises.
It is.
So much wonder.
And we're just getting started, so stay tuned. We'll be back with part 2 of our nature deep dive. We'll uncover even more mind-blowing facts and explore some of the mysteries that continue to intrigue scientists. I can't wait. Welcome back to our deep dive into nature's wonders. Ready for more?
Absolutely. We've only just scratched the surface.
You know, I'm still thinking about those acacia trees. Like, imagine having that built-in alarm system.
It's brilliant, right? Shows how important communication and cooperation are in nature, even for plants. Speaking of communication, what about those bee dances? We touched on them earlier, but there's so much more to it.
I'm all ears. It's amazing how a simple dance can convey so much information.
Oh, it's incredibly sophisticated. Those dances, they don't just signal where food is. They also tell other bees about the quality of the nectar and how much there is.
So it's like a 5-star review system, but for flowers.
Exactly. 5 stars for this patch of wildflowers. Nectar is flowing. Helps them make smart decisions about where to forage, make sure the colony survives. Collective intelligence in action.
Makes you wonder if we could learn a thing or two from them. About efficient communication, I mean.
Right.
Okay, let's switch gears to something a little less busy. The blue whale. We talked about their size, but how long do they actually live?
Well, they can live for 80 to 90 years. Pretty impressive for an animal that big.
Wow, that's longer than most humans. Imagine the stories they could tell.
I know, right? About their journeys across the oceans, about the changing climate, the creatures they've encountered.
It's almost poetic. Which reminds me, I still can't get over the fact that there are more trees on Earth than stars in the Milky Way.
It is mind-boggling. Shows you how much life there is on this planet.
And those trees are doing a lot more than just looking pretty. They're helping to regulate the climate, right?
Absolutely. We talked about the biotic pump theory earlier, remember?
Yeah, vaguely. Refresh my memory.
So basically, forests act like these giant pumps. They pull water up from the soil with their roots and then release it into the atmosphere through their leaves. It's called transpiration.
Right, transpiration.
That water vapor then forms clouds and eventually comes back down as rain.
So forests are a crucial part of the water cycle, which affects the weather and climate globally.
Exactly. And they also act as carbon sinks, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. That helps to mitigate climate change.
It's amazing how something as simple as a tree can have such a huge impact.
They really are incredible.
Okay, let's talk about another creature that relies heavily on trees. Elephants. We mentioned their memory earlier, but what about their social lives?
Well, elephants are highly social animals. They live in these close-knit family groups, led by an older female, the matriarch.
So it's like a big extended family.
Yeah, pretty much. The matriarch is responsible for guiding the group, finding food and water, protecting the younger ones.
Sounds like a very supportive environment.
It is. Elephants are known for their strong family bonds and their empathy.
Shows that intelligence and emotional complexity aren't just human traits. Okay, let's talk about hyenas now.
Ah, the hyena, often misunderstood.
Exactly. They're much more complex than people give them credit for. So how are their clans organized?
Well, spotted hyenas, the most common type, they live in clans that can be anywhere from a few individuals to over 100.
Wow, that's a lot of hyenas. And the females are in charge, right?
That's right. The females are larger and more aggressive than the males. They control access to food and mating.
Another example of a matriarchal society.
Exactly. Hyena societies show you just how diverse social structures can be in the animal kingdom.
It really does. Okay, let's head back to the Ngorongoro crater.
One of the most incredible places on Earth.
I've heard it called a lost world.
It really does feel like that. This massive caldera teeming with wildlife. Lions, elephants, zebras, wildebeest, you name it.
But no giraffes, right?
Right. The steep sides of the crater make it impossible for them to get in.
A giraffe-free zone. I wonder if they ever look down and wonder what it's like down there.
Interesting thought. Okay, let's dive into the ocean now. We
Yeah.
talked about the Mariana Trench, but there's another amazing place I want to talk about. The Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, wow. One of the most iconic natural wonders. What makes it so special?
Well, it's the largest coral reef system in the world, over 1,400 miles long, off the coast of Australia. The diversity of life there is just incredible.
I've seen pictures, the colors, the shapes. It's like an underwater city.
It really is. And, it's all made up of these tiny coral polyps. They're animals related to jellyfish and anemones.
So it's an animal-made structure.
It is. Over time, they build up these coral structures, which become habitats for all sorts of marine life. Fish, sea turtles, sharks, even whales.
It sounds like a very delicate ecosystem.
It is. And unfortunately, it's facing a lot of threats.
Mm.
Climate change, pollution, overfishing. Rising sea temperatures can cause coral bleaching, which weakens the coral.
That's sad to hear.
It is. But there are a lot of efforts underway to protect the reef, reducing emissions, improving water quality, managing fishing.
It's important that we do what we can to protect it. Okay, let's lighten the mood for a bit. Remember that saying about the first teardrop from your right eye?
The tears of joy thing? Yeah.
So is it true?
Well, probably not. There's no scientific evidence for it. It probably just depends which tear duct fills up first.
Oh, so it's just random.
Most likely.
Yeah.
But it's still a fun thing to think about. Tears are a powerful expression of emotion, no matter where they come from.
That's true. Speaking of powerful expressions, let's talk about orcas. Their communication is amazing.
It is. They use a whole range of clicks, whistles, pulsed calls. Each pod even has its own dialect.
Like regional accents.
Exactly. And they use body language, too. Breaching, spy hopping, tail slapping.
It's amazing how much we're learning about animal communication and how complex their lives are.
It really highlights their intelligence and adaptability.
It does. We've only just scratched the surface. There's still so much to discover. Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore even more incredible facts and stories from the natural world. Welcome back. It's the final stretch of our nature deep dive.
I know, it's flown by, hasn't it?
It has. I feel like we've learned so much.
We barely scratched the surface, but I hope you're feeling as inspired as I am.
Oh, definitely. I'm still just amazed by those blue whales.
The largest animals on Earth feeding on some of the tiniest.
Incredible.
It's a perfect illustration of how nature works, right? These interconnected cycles. Those tiny krill are essential for so many creatures.
Including the gentle giants. Speaking of interconnectedness, what about the Great Barrier Reef? We talked about the threats, but what about its cultural importance?
Well, it has immense cultural and spiritual significance for the indigenous peoples of Australia.
Right, of course.
It's been a source of food, medicine, inspiration for them for thousands of years.
It's a good reminder that our relationship with nature goes beyond just the scientific. It's cultural, it's spiritual, woven into so many societies.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, let's switch gears for a moment. Owls. Did you know that they don't have eyeballs in the traditional sense?
Oh, that's right. Their eyes are quite unique. Elongated, tube-shaped. They're fixed in place. They can't rotate them like we can.
So no eye rolling from owls.
Nope. But those fixed eyes give them incredible binocular vision. Helps them focus on prey.
Like laser sharp focus.
Exactly. Plus, their eyes are incredibly sensitive to light. They can see in almost total darkness. And they can rotate their heads almost 270 degrees.
Wow, a panoramic view. Okay, let's talk about something that never gets old. Sunsets. So simple, yet so beautiful.
Sunsets are actually a result of something called scattering.
Scattering.
As the sun goes down, the light has to travel through more of the Earth's atmosphere, and the shorter wavelengths of light, like blue and violet, they scatter away.
Leaving the oranges and reds.
Exactly. That's why we get those vibrant colors. And things like clouds and dust can affect the intensity too.
So it's all about the angle of the light and how it interacts with the atmosphere.
It is. It's physics and beauty all rolled into one.
Makes you appreciate the everyday wonders we often take for granted.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's travel to a truly remote location now, the Tristan da Cunha Islands.
Ah, yes. The most remote inhabited islands in the world.
Over 1,500 miles from any other landmass. That's just incredible.
It is a small community, about 250 people living there.
What's life like there?
They rely mainly on fishing and subsistence farming. They have their own distinct culture, shaped by their isolation.
It's amazing how humans adapt, isn't it, to all sorts of environments.
It really is. Speaking of environments, let's talk about one that's increasingly important, the digital world.
The internet. I read that every time you do a Google search, there's a complex network of over 1,000 computers involved.
That's right. It all happens in a fraction of a second, too.
That blows my mind.
It's a testament to how advanced computing has become. And it's not just Google, it's the entire internet. All these servers, data centers, all interconnected.
It's hard to grasp how much information is being processed every second.
It's massive. And there are nearly 5 billion internet users now.
Wow. Over half the global population. Think of the potential for communication, for education.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not without its challenges, but it's undeniably changed how we live and interact with the world. And speaking of interacting with the world, what about the selfie?
Ah, the selfie. A true cultural phenomenon.
People use it to document their lives, express themselves, connect with others.
I've taken my fair share, I admit it.
It's a fun way to capture a moment.
Mm,
And it reflects how technology has changed how we see ourselves.
that's a good point. As we wrap up this deep dive, I'm struck by the interconnectedness of everything. The smallest creatures, the vast ecosystems, the natural world, the digital world. It's all connected.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a reminder that our actions have consequences. We have to care for this planet and everything on it.
Well said. We've explored some amazing things today, haven't we? Trees that communicate, the depths of the ocean. There's still so much to learn about the natural world.
The journey never ends. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep being amazed by what's out there.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, keep exploring.